All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a story that starts with a huge public system failure. But more importantly, it ends with a really radical new idea. A blueprint, really, for how to rebuild trust and make sure something like this can never, ever happen again.
Widespread outrage. I mean, you don't hear that every day, right? But that's exactly how people describe their reaction when one of Australia's most popular government websites got a makeover back in October 2024.
So the website we're talking about belonged to the Bureau of Meteorology. You probably know it as the BOM. For literally millions of Australians, this isn't just some random government page. It's a daily go-to for checking the weather, planning your weekend, and crucially, for getting life-saving information during fires and floods. The news site, though? People found it confusing, hard to use, basically a massive step in the wrong direction.
But here's the thing. This isn't really a story about a bad website. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The real story here is how that failure became a kind of diagnostic lens, It let us see a much deeper systemic problem in how our most important national systems get planned, built, and managed.
And when you look through that lens, you see it wasn't just a website that failed. It was a textbook collapse of governance, of architecture, and of basic economics.
So, here's the number the public was given. The official story was that this whole redesign cost $4.1 million. Okay? Keep that number in your head for a second. Because the reality when you dig into the government's own documents was a whole different story. The true cost was estimated to be as high as $150 million. I mean, that's not a typo. To give you an idea of how this happened, just one single contract with one company started at $31 million and somehow swelled to over $78 million. Now, a gap that huge isn't just a rounding error. It points to something the source documents call governance opacity. It's a fancy term, but what it really means is a complete breakdown in being open and honest. The story they told the public and what was actually happening with the money were two totally different things.
So the key takeaway here is that the website was just the final domino to fall. The real problem was a total institutional collapse. Decisions were being made on the fly, with no real plan. The private contractors, not the government, were basically running the show. And for years, nobody was doing the basic checks to see if this massive, expensive project was even going in the right direction.
Okay, so when something is that broken, how in the world do you fix it? The answer proposed isn't just a patch or a quick fix, it's something much more fundamental. A new constitutional operating system for government itself.
It's called ATKOS-Ω. Now, don't think of it like computer software. It's more like a set of unbreakable rules, like a constitution, for how we build the things that matter most. It's a blueprint for making sure things like integrity and accountability are baked in from the very beginning, not just tacked on at the end when things go wrong.
The main idea here is to completely flip the script. We need to move away from this chaotic cycle of building complicated things, watching them break, and then spending a fortune to fix them. The goal is to get to a world where our public systems are predictable, accountable, and can be checked and audited right from the start, just by how they're designed.
So that sounds good in theory, right? But how would it actually work in practice? Let's follow a simple idea and see how it moves through this new system.
Think of it like building a skyscraper. You don't just start laying bricks. First, you have the seed mirror kernel. That's your absolute foundation. It defines the core purpose and the rules you can never break, like public safety always comes first. Then you build a tree of trees, which is like the full architectural blueprint, breaking the whole project down into logical pieces that all have to connect back to that foundation. And crucially, you map out the entire ecosystem, who's doing what, where the money's going, before a single line of code is written.
Let's make this super concrete. A simple suggestion comes up, one that actually happened with the BOM website. Someone says, hey, let's update the colors on the weather radar. It sounds totally harmless, doesn't it?
Well, here's the night and day difference. In the old world, that simple idea led to chaos. Different teams just did their own thing, nobody bothered to check if the new colors were even readable in an emergency, and boom, public backlash. But with a system like ATKOS-Ω, that same proposal is automatically checked against the safety rules. A designated person has to validate it, and if the change is unsafe, the system itself literally blocks it. The result? Updates are predictable and, most importantly, safe.
And that brings us to the real point of all this. This technical blueprint, it's not really about the tech. It's about what it delivers for all of us. Trust, clarity, and safety.
So what's the actual civic payoff? What's guaranteed? Well, it means updates are predictable and safe. It means the website is always readable, especially when it matters most.
It means the warnings are always reliable. And it means our emergency services can count on getting the information they need, period. It's about making sure public trust, clarity, and safety are just built into the DNA of the system.
So yeah, this whole story started with a weather website in Australia. But the solution is so much bigger than that. It's a potential blueprint for any government, at the state level, say, in Victoria, or for the whole country, or even as a model for the rest of the world, to build public services that we can actually trust, to be resilient and to work for us.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. If this way of thinking can bring order and safety to something as complicated as a national weather service, what could it do for our healthcare system, our energy grids, our transportation networks, our most critical infrastructure?